Hello, welcome to another tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today is called Summer Path. It's a 6x8, and I completed it yesterday. I'm going, wow, Mike, that's a quick turnaround. Well, let me tell you what's going on. Yeah, and you maybe noticed there was no video over the weekend. I had one queued up. I was ready to go. And that's going to be tying into the theme of this particular little video cast here, which is denial and failure. And I had done a painting. I'd worked on it quite a lot. Maybe I had about 6-7 hours in it, which is a lot for me. And it was looking good until the glorious finish. What the glorious finish included this big wedge of bright yellow leaves off on one side of the painting, and the whole time I'd had the reference there. Some part of my intuition was saying, "This isn't going to work. I don't think it's going to work." The other part of me is going, "Well, it looks cool. I think I can do it." And this is the same mechanism that's been in play for every failed or bad painting I've ever done. And what's sort of sad about this one is like I brought it to a certain level without the yellow leaves. I was I had done everything that was gonna be underneath him, and it was looking really good. A good mate of mine was like, "Hey, that's looking good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna bring it to a finish real soon." The finish being, of course, gonna do these fall leaves over the top. And it's not that you doing bright fall leaves over a painting is going to fail always. That's not the case. What the problem was here is that everything was weighted on one side. And what happens is that you will accept things as a photo that will never work as a painting. And I know this, and the internal editor in me is pretty on it. Usually that voice was saying this isn't going to work. I just drowned it out in this case, and I won't be doing that again in this particular instance. Yeah. Oh, I sort of feel a sneeze coming on. Hold on here. I spared you that. Haven't used my other microphone again today. I think I need to get myself a new headset because it's a hassle going in the backyard. And right now it's winter, it's cold, so you when you're in the house, you're inclined to stay in the house. You know how it is. Anyway, I think this one sounds pretty good. It's just that I have to hold it, and I have to hold it at a consistent level. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about this painting. So no, that just suffice to say that failed, and which leads us to this little painting. I had this reference composed from I've painted this scene before. I painted it actually many times, and going back to like 2011 or so, or 12, and but never as a vertical. And actually, it's basically just the clump of trees itself that I'm painting. I have composited a different path into the reference, and I'm really happy with the way the painting turned out. And so, one thing that's sort of, if you saw the ocean beach video, which would have been the last one before the monochromatic that's up, you can see it's one of these ones where I didn't pre-mix any colors. And actually, from the standpoint of people in the live area, the members area, you're getting a bit of a bigger, more educational bonus there, I'd say, since all the colors are being mixed as I'm going. But this one I came out real well, and I had a good feeling about it. And I've talked about this before, but we're always getting new subscribers and new people joining the channel, so I don't really mind repeating myself. But what do you do after a big fat failure? And it's especially hard on me because I don't fail very much now. I've been doing this a while, so. But anyway, what do? You go for something that you know is going to be, you have a reasonable expectation of being successful. So in this case, smaller painting that I knew I could. Well, so it needs something to give you guys, because I know you tune in and you're looking for looking for a video. So I wanted it something I could do. The um, the live version of this is an hour and a half, which is perfect. And sorry, I knew there would be a sniffle or two after that sneeze. I did spare you the sneeze. Um, but I wanted to. So I had a brief on this painting, which was don't overwork it, don't overdo any aspect of it. Just lay it down and let's have a fresh painting. And that's quite often my brief. And one thing I did here too that's a little different is I'm working on hardboard, which has been prepped with transparent gesso. That's why it looks still like hardboard. And I love working on that color. I think it works really great, really supports me. And a lot of my paintings, I've been doing my drawings with black. Lately, on the last couple, I've tried doing the drawing or underpainting portion with burnt umber, and then going in with the black. And I'm kind of liking that actually. I feel like that's a little more flexible, and yeah, working good, and actually giving me probably better transitions in the sky and things where I know that underpainting is going to peek through. Um, and something also I like to do if I know I'm mixing as I go, which is what I'm doing here. The mixing as I go thing. One reason I like to pre-mix my colors, I think it's a little easier on the brushes because what will happen when you're working like this, you tend to do a lot of mixing with the brushes, which of course is going to be a bit harder on the brushes, no question. Yeah. Anyway, so you go for something that you feel solid about, that you've done before, and not necessarily that you painted before, but a scene or a motif that you're comfortable with, and you feel like you have that internal strength, which is tied to the intuition, of course. That's the only word we have in the English language for that phenomenon of having a knowing or feeling about things. That usually ends up being true. In my case, it's almost always true. I mean, I have had a feeling like something was going to work and been able to pull it off, though. So there's that. It's pretty rare if I have that feeling that something isn't going to work. By the way, while I'm thinking about it, you can see we have our little tree arrangement. One thing I did here, which I hadn't done before, is that tree with the on our right side. With the widest trunk. I decided to pull that in front of the path. And I hadn't really done that before, so that ended up, instead of everything being all in a row, it gave me a little bit more depth, and I think that worked well. The other thing is, like, so I've done this painting. I remember a lot of times, like, it's interesting, you get kind of a muscle memory when you're doing something that you've done before, and I failed on this painting before, and I mean, it was still an okay painting, but it had some problems that I could not see after I saw them. Sorry for this sniffle. And that was in the tops of the trees. I ended up having this like kind of round dome thing, and that's where you see I put a distinct notch in there. And the reference things get kind of vague because it's sort of like, I don't know what's up with these trees, whether it might be, I'm calling this summer path, but it could have been spring or something like that, or fall, or part of the leaves are going or thinning, part of the trees. It's not like this just big green tree. And I decided there, you can see I left things sort of open. And I'll tell you one thing I was talking about, it been on the live video that I'm remembering right now because it's pretty fresh in my mind since I did it yesterday, is that so you notice when I draw the tree shapes, I will keep things a bit amorphous, a bit vague sometimes, and that's because I know. Well, first of all, I don't want a harsh edge in the trees. You can have a harsh edge in some little parts, but you want to have a nice edge. And so a lot of times I'll actually start defining the edge when I bring in the sky. That decides the actual true shape that the trees are going to be. I try not to be too rigid these days, and like I said in that previous incarnation where I painted the scene, I had a nice round shape at the top. Now there was another iteration I'd done, actually it's a 6x8, it was a horizontal. And this is when I was going through the very heavily textured phase, and I avoided it there. That's some other kind of stiffiosities, and that's another thing I thought stiffiosities is actually a patented word. Yeah. Another thing I want to chat about. So I'm pretty happy with the way things look when I start laying the lighter greens over the darker greens. I want you to note that those greens have a heck of a lot of red in them, and that's really the way I like to work. I like to have a lot of red in my greens, and then bring in little bits of I really favor permanent green light, and of course, like I said in the live video, you're going to get the full rundown on pretty much everything going on that way. So check it out. Support the channel. Be a supporter of the channel. There's our promotional portion of the evening. But getting to what I was going to say, so I like the way the strokes are looking, and that's a reflection of me working on the smooth board and creating interest and the texture or illusion of texture with just the brush strokes. Now, when you are working on a heavily textured board, without fail, when I have these paintings up on the wall in my studio gallery, people always assume all the textures being created by the brushwork. They never think about me painting on a textured board, which is fine. And if you have seen the textured videos or the some of the demos on the textured boards, I go to great pains to have a non-directional texture on my surface of my board, so that you don't have a bit of horizontal texture going through the middle of a vertical element and things like that, which can be real nasty. And but the texture, you're gonna have to work differently. You're gonna have to muscle things in. Where on the smooth, I really enjoy just laying those strokes on the really smooth board and building things up. And it's been a process because I was really into the texture solidly, and not just actually heavy textures, but even a light texture. A lot of times in my 5x7s for years, I've had like a little pebbly, and you would kind of rely on that. Um, just like, as I'm sure many of you that work on canvas, there's a lot of times, you just drag that brush over the canvas and you're getting just the effect you want, kind of a subtle breakup of the paint. Pardon me. That was kind of a yawn, something, I don't know what. Anyway, we're getting kind of close to the end, and what a nice looking painting, eh, if I don't say so myself. And it had kind of a summery feel to me. Oh, one thing, before we go, that I was playing with here was like you have the dry grasses, but I could see in the reference where there were little bits of fresh green grass, like maybe there'd been a rain. And so I started trying, putting some of that in. I think I got a nice effect there. And I'm really happy with this painting. I think it looks awesome, and so happy to share it with you today. And I really appreciate you coming on down, coming on around. Probably wrapping things up a little early, but hey, that's how it goes. I think there's another maybe minute. So let me tell you about my website. Going over to my website, landscapepainter.co.nz. At some point, I'm a one-man band. I mean, I got to do the paintings, I got to do the videos, blah blah blah, a bunch of other stuff you don't care about. But at some point, I'm gonna start updating the store, and I might be getting back into doing some more minis and stuff too. I'm looking at tracking things from the last few years. I noticed I sold most of the minis I ever put on the store, but whatever, you do stuff. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I'll be back before too long with another video for you. And meanwhile, do me a favor, do me a solid. Take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. And while you're doing that, be patient with people that have opinions different from yours. Especially now, the world, maybe it's the way the stars are aligned, but the world seems to be inflamed with a lot of discord and distress, so you don't need to be part of that. Anyway, take good care and stay out of trouble.